Good morning to you all. I'll apologise first to everybody because I'm in, as Sarah says sometimes, MD mode this morning, which is kind of a throwback to my days when I was privileged to run and work with lots of estate agents. And in times of crisis and times of strong leadership, I sort of switched into that mode this morning at 6 a.m. when we started work on going down the rabbit hole to find out as much as we possibly can so we can give you some accurate advice this morning. And we've looked at this, I think, haven't we, I've looked at this, I've gone back into a mode where, you know, when I was running 100 and whatever branches and said, right, what would we do now? How would we now take this forward based on the news from last night? So we're going to share that with you this morning. Anyway, morning to you.
Good morning. You know, we are going to run through a checklist, as Brian has said today. We have done as much...
Checklists! Still can't get rid of the checklist.
We've made it, though, so that everyone can go through it and physically tick it. So we'll go through that. We're not the government, so we don't know. It's going to be a crazy day for everybody. There is no two ways about this. We have no idea whether this is going to be the last meeting or not. We have mentioned that we might keep it running through till Friday, then reassess the situation, but that's the least of your worries today. My first point on the checklist, as you will see, I've got a shirt on today because you all need to go to your wardrobes after the meeting.
Make sure your clothes fit.
And check that your clothes fit.
Mine don't. That's why I'm wearing a t-shirt.
I was like, oh, is everything going to fit this morning? Not that
Got the iron out for the first time in 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a busy morning this morning. Those of you that are in the group will see that we did say, please try to join us till 9:45 today because we've got a lot to go through. We'll try and wrap it up before then, but we've got a lot to talk about. Yeah,
and look, our intention is not to take the jam out your donuts this morning. You know, we are going to try and be, you know, as positive as possible about this because it's, look, good news story. We're open. Yay! Okay, so that's brilliant, right? The best bit of news we've had since we started this support programme. So just a couple of bits of business. First of all, as Sarah has mentioned, we would like you to comment, please, during the course of this as to whether or not you would like us to continue these briefings until Friday. Friday will be our cut-off day for now. And then our proposal, subject to our viewers, if you want us to continue with a morning news show, then we will do that. But our suggestion is that we move it weekly from next week. And that will coincide with the launch of our YouTube channel, which has all the back episodes of everything we've done on here, clearly labelled so you can see which bits you might want to remind yourselves about. And then our plan is to release a helpful news bulletin of the same sort of style we've been doing on YouTube. So obviously, once we've launched the YouTube channel, we would encourage you to subscribe to that. And therefore, when we then film and release new episodes, you can get them at your own leisure and watch them at a time that's suitable to you, rather than having to, you know, get on here at 9:15 every morning when you've got businesses to run and customers to deal with. And equally, it's going to help us out having to get up really early and do it like Stefan in the morning, like Property Industry Eye. So, but we're only going to do that if the will of the people, you great people, is strong enough to do it. Otherwise, we're not going to waste our time. So
there's a lot of yeses.
Is there?
There's a lot of yeses.
I can't see.
We
would like to, okay? We're never going to charge for it. We just want to do it. We want to be helpful, and we want to, you know, have a bit of something a bit new as well. And you know, and what was great about all of you yesterday was the fact that the news broke and it was straight onto this group, which was brilliant. All right, and it shows that what we set out to do to help you all and for you to help everybody else and all of us as a community to work together really has come home, and it really hit home to us late last night when. We saw the news being shared on the group. So thank you all. And if you want us to carry on, then we will.
Great. Okay, so let's get started. Yep. I mean, all plans out the window. I made an analogy. Brian says it's not funny, but I likened it to the imagining that someone had rung me at 7 o'clock last night and said, right, pack your case, you've got to be at Manchester Airport at 6:10.
Right, let's go.
Right, in the morning. And, you know, I would have needed to get my flip-flops, my sunscreen, my holiday money.
Inflatable dinosaur
Lilo. Inflatable dinosaur Lilo. And all that would have happened is I would have forgot stuff. I would have got to the airport, I wouldn't have had my passport, I wouldn't have had a clue what I was doing, and I definitely would have forgotten my inflatable Lilo. Yep. So actually, there is a massive sense of wanting to fling open the doors and let's get going, but actually...
Yeah, tyres are spinning on the driveway while they're watching this, ready to...
So don't be afraid. Obviously, your phones are going to be quite busy, but don't be afraid to just take a pause and think, right, I'm going to get this together so that I'm ready. Because the most important thing about all of this, and I cannot stress this enough, you guys know this, is the health of your teams and the people that you serve, i.e. your customers.
So first bit of jam extraction from your donut is this, is above all else, with all the news that's come out, the first point to remember is the following. Without social distancing, one person can affect 2.5 people within 5 days. Those 2.5 people can affect 406 people within 15 days. So if your teams, your customers, yourselves, your suppliers are not going to adhere to social distancing, the potential for one of you to affect nearly 400 people within 2 weeks is extremely high.
Yeah.
However, the good news is, and this is the message to remind everybody, that with social distancing, one person could affect 1.25 people, and 1.25 people will affect 15 people in the same period. So that is if worst happens under social distancing and the virus does get caught and spread, it will not spread anywhere near as bad as if you're not mindful of social distancing. And this point has not been laboured enough. And there are many, many people out there, none of you, but many people across the country who have completely flouted the rules because they are unable to be disciplined enough. And that reminder is strong enough. If social distancing is not adhered to strictly, we will be in a horrific situation in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And if there's a second lockdown, it's game over for many people. So please make sure that you remember, and your teams and your customers remember that rule first. Social distancing is there for a specific reason, to stop the spread of the virus.
He told you it was going to be an MD mode,
Boom.
And there you have it. Although I'm not sure whether that was MD or PM. I think Brian Mansell's...
Well, the nation needs to focus on staying alive,
But it's really good. And Brian's got what he's looking at on his phone there. Don't need to show them now.
No,
we'll
I'll
share it
post
in the
it,
group.
yeah.
There's a fantastic infographic. You've probably seen it, but it visually demonstrates that. And it's going to be really important that you share that with your teams and your customers, because we've never done this before. We've never practiced going into someone's house for a viewing or a market appraisal, or however we're going to conduct our business. Social distancing is completely unnatural. So it's going to be, we are going to have to be acutely aware constantly. And that infographic's perfect. So Brian will share that in the group. Okay, so we've had quite a few questions about what to do, how to do things. Shall we run through our checklist,
Just
Brian?
before we do not forget as well, those of you that are on here, or people that are self-employed, then there is the self-employed scheme open. The self-employed support scheme opens today, and of course with the great news about agency being open again, then that could be missed. So just remember, the support scheme for self-employed people opens today for grants and support up to £7,500. So if you haven't yet had any support, because you are in that category, jump on it today and make sure that you get support. Okay.
I'm just really looking forward to that. I can apply on Saturday. 8 a.m. apparently.
Good. Okay, that's great. Well, that's the point of this, is to make sure everyone knows. Right?
Sorry,
not just that you just sort yourself out.
I was just happy I was going to get some money. Okay, fantastic. Right, should we do this back to work checklist, Brian? It's 25 past.
Yep.
Okay, so we've prepared. It is comprehensive. There's a lot of it. Okay, you can see it here. As you can see, lots and lots of text. We are going to double check it and make sure that it is as exhaustive as possible. But we've separated it quite simply into your team, your customers, and your suppliers.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll deal with that in a second. So to start with, Brian, should we start with your team?
Yeah, so we can start with the team. So very first thing that you would be needing to do before you do anything else is make sure that your team is supported and looked after, and that the instructions, if you are the owner of the business, directors of the business, senior management, and even if you're not, that we have a responsibility to each other first, okay? Before we pile out there and start rocking and rolling, that the well-being of our team is taken first.
Yeah, so I'm just going to put some more meat on that if I can. So obviously, a lot of you have contacted us actually directly and said, oops, I haven't actually created a plan because I didn't think this was going to happen until the 1st of June.
Yeah, no one did, right?
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're expecting a busy day on the phones today to help people do that. But you need to have a reopening plan.
Yeah.
And you also need to have a plan, and it may be subject to change, of when you plan on bringing people back from furlough.
Yeah, because you don't want to take people out of furlough. I mean, you can put them back into furlough, by the way, but if they've been if they haven't been furloughed for 3 weeks, then you'll lose those payments.
And in addition to that, I think what's also really important is you need to have individual, that's also on our checklist, conversations about the ability to come back to work.
Yes.
So some people have got children who are not going to probably be at school until maybe September. So what does it look like for them? Can they have childcare? Is their other half working from home? You need to have a group conversation about your plans to reopen and bring people back from furlough. Be transparent, be honest, but also let them know that it's subject to change.
Yeah.
But then have individual conversations about people's ability to come back to work. You are being judged, if you're a business owner now, as an employer, and how well you look after your teams. It's got to be right for the business. Sorry, Brian. It's got to be right for the business, but it's also got to be right for your people, because they're going to be the future of your business.
Yeah, there must be no pressure put on your teams to return under those circumstances at all.
Yeah.
This isn't like anything we've ever done before. This is about respect and about making sure that the welfare of people is looked after. So, as Sarah said, personally, if it was me, I'd be having, if you haven't already, and most of you probably have, but getting on the phone, having some Zoom calls individually with your team, just to make sure that how are they feeling, what are their thoughts about coming back. I saw yesterday a lady in London had been asked to return by her employer, just told she had childcare, couldn't get back, just told to turn up. Well, she had no back to work plan, and I made a comment on that to her directly to say, you need to get
it's not
good enough, it's poor form. You must demand from your employer that they are helping you return to a safe and healthy environment, and that there are proper restrictions in place. So without that, I don't take the risk. 406 people can be infected within 2 weeks if it's not adhered to. So just remember that always.
Good. Okay, next point on the checklist, we've got make sure that your risk assessment is completed. We have shared some documents in the group with relation to the government guidance. Use that as a basis. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. They have got working from home policies for you. You might need to adapt them slightly for your own business, but definitely get that written up. On the point of risk assessment, Brian, and safe working policies for social distancing, I've got a really important question here.
Yep.
It's a question statement, I don't know. It's not necessary, is it, to open the doors of your estate agency branch?
Well, there'll be many, many shops in your high street that won't be open until, maybe, certainly June, maybe July. But that is an individual choice.
Of course it is, but I don't think it's not a massive necessity.
Well, it is if people are, obviously the public have woken up to the news this morning all over the dailies and the broadsheets that agency is reopened. So you're going to have, so the one thing I would be very, very careful of, and we're going to cover this a bit, actually I don't want to jump ahead, about being aware of tyre kickers.
Okay.
I won't keep that. So it's an individual choice. But obviously if you are going to open your office, you must make sure it's been thoroughly cleaned.
So you need thoroughly cleaned. Your desks needs to be at least 2 metres apart. Hot desking is not allowed, so no one can share computers anymore or phones or anything like that. Would definitely consider the square meterage of your office and how many people you should have within that space. Also, if you can get hold of Perspex screens, then you should do. And everybody needs PPE, okay? It's unquestionable. Everyone should be allowed to have a mask, hand sanitizer, Dettol sprays, the works on their desk. And also in their vehicles if they are on the road.
Is it worth just checking anything coming in?
I'm making a note of everything that's coming in.
Okay.
I've been watching how they do it on the daily briefing, so I know how to do it.
Ooh. Yes, we'll take questions from Christian from
of
London now.
I'm just conscious of time, so I'm just going to keep going. So your risk assessment and safe working policies must be written up. If you don't want to open your office because you're finding that virtual viewings, etc., are working brilliantly for you, but you just want to offer a service still that means you can go to people's homes, that's fine too, I think.
Yeah, look, ultimately it is the decision of the business owners to what to do. Our point is, and I'm really strong on this, as you can probably tell this morning, that the checklist must be followed. It would be reckless to get just to rev off the driveway this morning and get everything open and get right. Yeah, I want 4 viewings on that property at 4 o'clock. None of you are that stupid. We want you to get back. We want you to start to thrive on this. There's going to be big demand, but just be careful and follow the rules.
So the next point on the checklist, as well as obviously issuing PPE, the staff need to be trained on what to do. Okay, so keys, for example, how in your policy have you decided that you are going to be handing over keys safely and securely?
Yeah.
How are you going to be accessing people's properties? The next point is, after training your staff in how to use their PPE and how to approach the policy, you also need to think about the next thing with your team is, and I can't stress this enough, we talk about this anyway, structuring your day. There is never going to be a more important time to have some kind of structure in your day now, because otherwise you'll go into a tailspin, I think.
Okay.
So definitely a day structure.
So that's some guidance for the team part, okay? We're going to move on now to guidance for customers.
Okay.
Because, of course, once you have satisfied the needs of your team, you've spoken to them, quick review, you've updated, you understand how they feel, are they happy to come back, are they not, what's their personal situation, etc., then customers next. And many of you have spoken to your customers. We've been talking non-stop for the last 6 weeks or so now about the importance of regular communication, empathy, etc. So let's just tackle now some of the key points about our advice on how to deal with your customers now we're open and ready to get going. So again, your customers are going to be very much like your team, first and foremost. A mixed bag, polarised views. Do not make the assumption that everybody is happy to have viewings. Be very careful who your vulnerable customers, etc. But first and foremost, the main point we would offer you today is make sure that each one of your customers, irrespective of their view on this, is aware and maybe even receive a copy of your policy. So they can see that you are a trusted estate agency business, it's the right choice to stay with you, and that you are taking this very seriously and have their welfare and your team's welfare at the heart of what you're doing.
I think as well, Brian, useful to share the government working from home guidelines that have been prepared by the government with your client base, potentially, because actually that will show that the government are allowing it and therefore potentially give people some reassurance.
It's time to be logical, right? That's the point.
Absolutely.
Absolute logical evidence now.
So the next point on the checklist, as well as sharing by email your policy and on social media with all of your customer base, we would strongly advise then contacting every single person who is on your current stock list and confirming whether a couple of things. One, are they willing to have a physical viewing to take place? If they're not, don't worry, respect their wishes. Are they willing to have access for a camera to come in that will enable like 360 tours, so they could still have virtual viewings maybe. Maybe that would just be one appointment. Whatever it is, check, because it's going to be vitally important that you share this information on the portals and on your website so that you don't just get an influx of inquiries on properties that you can't even do viewings on. Obviously, you still take the leads, but you might say, we're not able to do viewings on this property until mid-June, or however it looks. But just be really clear on that, I think, every part of your stock. Agreed?
Yep.
Okay. We've talked about communication plans for the last 6 weeks now. If you haven't done one, you know, you're probably...
Get your pens out.
Yeah, hurry up.
Or your keyboards.
But ultimately, things are changing so fast. I would strongly recommend having a 14-day communication plan. Don't try and do 30 days. It's completely pointless right now. Look at how quickly the last 24 hours have changed. So what is your communication plan with the key stakeholders within your business? Your teams, your customers, your suppliers, and everybody involved. Okay. Catty. Solicitors. I want to talk about solicitors next.
Yep.
Because we've all got a load of money tied up in chains.
Yep.
That's the next on the checklist. Go through your chains, speak to the solicitors, and find out when they're back to work and when they can expect files to start being worked again. Fair?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I made a recommendation yesterday, which I think...
if you on that point, if you haven't had any communication with any of your local firms of solicitors over the last few weeks because of the situation, I would stick that as a priority. Yesterday there were a number of firms that we found out that have actually shut and haven't told anybody. They've just shut because they can't continue, and I mean closed. And obviously their contracts can be picked up by other firms of solicitors, so you want to check that out because it's could be quite worrying if they haven't reopened or are planning to.
Great, a great point. Christian has just made an amazing point, and it's absolutely right. And I mean, we consider it par for the course. It's what we do in our training courses. But having those really deep and meaningful conversations with your viewers now, getting to know whether they are actually moving or whether they are
just trying to get out the house for an hour and look at someone else's house to have something to do.
Absolutely, the qualification has never been more important now, has it? I mean. No. So seriously, great point, Christian. Thank you for making that. He's planning on just like offering like almost a filter systems, which we have agreed with long before COVID. Actually, virtual viewings. Yeah. If you're really serious, then we get you a physical viewing.
Yeah, I don't see any harm in that now. I don't see any harm in actually now making that mandatory for people. And if you like the look of the house that you've seen on a portal, now look at the virtual viewing, and then and only then, if you want to come and look at it physically, we'll show you around. You know, stop wasting so much of our time going round and round and round houses. Because I tell you now, if I'm selling my house with you and you are bringing 10, 15 people round and you haven't got an offer, those days are gone, right? I'm going to be more annoyed with you than ever before. Yeah. You know, the old days where agents used to run around on thrones on the high street because they had 25 viewings in a house. That's not good form. You need one or two. That's what you want to be aiming for now, not 10, 15 and chucking the mud at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. Refine your craft, get deeper, understand every single customer's needs, desires, and whether they're going to make you money or cost you money, and then get out and do it.
He's scaring me today. Proper MD. Proper MD.
It's called being assertive in a time of crisis.
I am
happy
yellow.
crisis.
I am a yellow. I'm a
yellow, red. If you know what that means, then you'll understand.
Right. I just really want to pick up this point actually that Mark Newton has just made about the fact that it all changed overnight. Do you think there was too much pressure on the government to open on the 1st of June? And I wish you guys had been there when Brian did his impersonation of Robert Jenrick and Boris Johnson having a conversation.
It went like this. Yes, come in. Oh, hey Boris, it's Robert here. I've just seen the stats about the economy taking an absolute tanking overnight, the worst in decades. Can I have the housing market reopened? Because there's about 8 billion's worth of stamp duty in there, which I promise I'll get through really quickly if you let me go. Well, we've told people they can't see their parents. Well, yes, I know, but the parents aren't going to contribute £2 billion to the economy, so is that all right? Oh, I suppose so. Look, hang on a minute. Stop crying, that bloody child. Just go on. Just get on with it. Get on with it. It's probably something like that. But oh yeah, by the way, top tip for the day: if you want to see your parents, your friends, your neighbours, everything, just book in loads of market appraisals.
Brian Mansell, that is not advice. We are giving.
Obviously, I've got to abide by social distancing, of course.
Sorry about Brian's.
Hello, Mum. Do you want your house valued? Yes, please. I'll be round at 4 o'clock. Let's kind of get round and see her, right?
So Brian's also going to get a job on the stage after this. But back to the matter in hand, our checklist. So we think that there should be a disclaimer on all properties on your website and your portals.
That's what Mark's mentioned this morning.
Mark's
so there are pre-approved templates that Property Mark are doing. They're good for something. Get it out, get hold of it, and stick it on your details.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I have gone off script, Deb, and I was struggling to get back on.
It's my fault, as always.
I hope
we talk about holidays, inflatable dinosaurs. I can talk about my Boris Johnson impression.
Email marketing. Take a pause and then deliver and repeat a clear and concise message. You've all got stacks of email databases, huge amounts, and you should all be nurturing them. I know Rob Brady's on here, so we have to say that. No, I'm joking. You should be nurturing them. But right now, use it to deliver clear messages that are fact-based. Don't rush with anything that's not checked by the government.
Okay.
Okie dokie. And finally...
Use the back of that as well?
No, that's something else.
Oh, okay.
You'd be using paper.
Oh, look at that. Do you mind just not putting your pen near me because I don't get drawn?
Very green. Right, and there's going to be a bit more meat on this when we prepare it for you. We're going to share all of this with you in the group. But finally, the next section, your suppliers. Yeah, so again, same third section, team, customers and suppliers. And that's obviously just making sure that if you've got contractors that are now going to be out, removal firms particularly, there'll be a lot of those people active. Just double check that you, as an agent, have received from removal firms that are involved, and maybe get your clients to get this a copy if they've instructed them directly, a copy of those firms' policies about that they abide by social distancing when they're actually executing their job. My mission here, as it would be as the MD, as I mentioned before, is simply to make sure that if anything happens and goes wrong, the telescope is not pointed at you and people are not saying,
well, bloody estate agent didn't do this. Typical estate agents, we always seem to be in the middle of the bun fight, okay? So we're here to support you. And as I said to you at the very beginning of this session, my mission was, if we were all one team, what would the mission be? And this is the mission. All the people that are interacting now, just make sure where possible, you've got a copy of some of their policies so you're comfortable on behalf of your clients that they are working responsibly with other people that are technically associated to you. And obviously your board men, make sure if your board men and all your board people, I should say, board person. Now, obviously they're social distancing experts because, they tend to have a habit of not, but just make sure they're doing the same, under the same thing. And obviously maintenance and contractors with obviously lettings and maintenance issues now, because obviously people haven't been able to visit households and properties for quite a long time. There's going to be a whole multitude of people going, my tap doesn't work, or my boiler's broken, or whatever. Just make sure that your PM team, if they're sending people around, contractors round, are comfortable that the contractors have a policy about social distancing and the right equipment.
Right, so that's it. Get your policy from every single supplier and contractor that you deal with, and also check when they are back to work and check their service levels. They might also have children that they've got to homeschool. They may also be single parents or whatever and be unable to work. They might be poorly. You need to check what their plans are so that you can make sure you can relay that to your customers. Otherwise, you're, like Brian says, in the middle, getting the bun fight. However, I just wanted to say, Boris.
Yes?
One thing that we should take from all of this is, as an industry, we have been put back to work second only, really, to the NHS. So if that doesn't mean...
and garden centres and tennis courts and golf centres and stuff.
Yeah, but as an industry, like as a workforce, that means we are so valuable.
Of course we are.
Doesn't that mean...
You just figured that out?
Yeah, but I've
done that for 31 years.
I've always known it, but wow, we're so important.
Of course we are. Because we generate huge volumes of tax and huge volumes
Does that mean we can all put our fees up?
Well, yeah, we know, but we should do anyway. We know that.
That's another
story
for another day.
Another time, maybe tomorrow.
Okay, and finally, 3 big key points for remembering. Well,
Right.
just finally on the checklist.
On the checklist, yeah. We've got another section on helicopter money coming up immediately after this section. So,
Even though it's 9:42.
well, okay. So other things to remember on the checklist. Oh, I'm panicking. Quick, hurry up. 'Cause I need to get on with that.
Okay, always deal in facts.
Yep.
Some people may not feel the same as you, okay? They might not share the view. Respect it. It's okay. Just make sure you keep the communication open with them. And finally, Brian has said, if you're not offering virtual viewings on every property, then...
Yeah, it's responsible, okay?
The right
It's
thing
responsible under social distancing, under COVID, keeping, even though we're open, keeping the number of people that are visiting clients' properties to a minimum is good practice right now from a health and safety point of view, but commercially, it makes a whole lot of sense going forward, right? It really does to me.
would, if it was me, and it's, it's up to everybody, I would have, and I had a high street branch, I would have very clear messaging in my windows right now that said, the office isn't open, but we are still offering full service. You can contact us here. And I would just have a list of ways they could contact us.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you probably won't agree with that.
Okay,
anyway,
two final points. Okay, first of all, you've heard me on various webinars over this lockdown period banging on about the importance of being sale ready. Okay, Property Mark delivered a webinar yesterday with on one of the portals that was really good. We'll watch, but it had a bit of inaccuracy, and that's no one's fault other than a lack of knowledge. So digital TA forms are available. I've talked about it before, shameless plug. If you're not talking to Gazelle and me about getting all of your customers totally free of charge, ready to move, you need to jump on this as well pretty quick. Okay, otherwise your agency will be left behind. Those of you in sales, this is definitely something that is coming and will potentially be mandated moving forward. Gazelle have the only system right now that does everything for free, completely free of charge to you and your customers. All the forms electronically delivered that comply with the Law Society protocol. Get onto Gazelle today. Do not waste any time. Thank you to those of you that have. We'll get through your requests today at some point. And then final point, and we are overrunning probably today, sorry, is we talked about helicopter money that was available. We've researched for our own business and wanted to share with you. The government have what's called an R&D tax relief program, which is very under the radar, not very well known. Businesses can apply for tax relief, tax credits, or lump sum payments based on the work that they have done and can demonstrate for over the last few years, excuse me, for research and technology. So those of you, and I know certainly people like Christian have developed technology that's going to help the process, that should be eligible for R&D tax rebate and credit. Not a huge amount of time to talk about it right now. I have said yesterday, and I'm very happy to deal with any questions you have remotely. Come to me on social media, send me a text, send me a WhatsApp, whatever you want to do, and I'll happily take the time and talk you through it. If there is an application process, it does take a bit longer than some of the grants because the grants have jumped ahead of this simply because of the need of the public. But there is definitely an opportunity for you here to be worth investigating for free, has no impact on you, and it's all above board. And the second thing is to remember that there's also a government grant and again tax rebate if you are one of a business, a small employer or an SME or a sole trader that hot desks or pays rent in other people's buildings. There's an opportunity for you that's come out. We're investigating it that can give you some rebate on that as well. So really important to investigate these options. There's so many of them that have come out, which is amazing. But you just want to make sure that you are on top of each of them because it's free money, it's helicopter money that is being offered to help people. But also the R&D one is generally there long going. That's not just a COVID one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Please.
Jury rests.
Just contact Brian if you've got questions about Gazelle or R&D because we have overrun. We have had quite a few questions and we've still got full numbers. So I'm just going to quickly run through them. Mark Newton, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about with the Daily Mail and advertising for 3K. But please comment again and we'll try and work out what you're saying. Liv from Harrison said, would it be a good idea to give 24-hour notice to everybody for reviewing at least so that they can obviously disinfect and clean the house? I think absolutely. Great idea, Liv. I'm just trying to read through some of these comments now, but that is proving to be incredibly challenging on my computer. Adam Winfield has mentioned that the quality of your virtual tours is going to be as important as the quality of photography now.
100% agree with that.
Could not agree more with that sentiment.
Well said.
I mean, you know, we're being tested now as marketeers. Brian and I have talked about this for a very long time. Yeah. Also, Rob Brady, as always, coming through with the recommendations, has said that there is something called, and I'm desperately looking for it. Rob, what's it called? 360 Nano. Okay, I think it's for your iPhone, and you can basically do a 360 tour on your iPhone. And if you've got 11 Pro, they're unbelievable, aren't they, Brian?
Yeah.
So we've got that. Someone has said that they've got 20 relatives to visit today on the
Yeah, go and see your nan, your mum, your aunties, your cousins, your friends, yeah.
Christian says that he feels that we should have a competition with Boris impersonations, which is also a fabulous idea. With regards to Sam Edmonds, the grant for small businesses, yes, Brian is looking into that further. If you want Brian's details, just DM us in or comment on this box and we'll make sure that you get them. Of course. People are sharing loads of 360 technology companies there as well. If there's anything we've missed, I'm going to be monitoring this thread now for the next probably half an hour, 45 minutes. So if you want to talk through anything, then please do so. I've made Morris a TV star, by the way. He's now had 3,000 views on our webinar. You know, boom town. That was your Boris impersonation. No, on the one we did. So before. Based on your feedback from earlier in this call, we are going to carry this on until Friday. At which point we'll probably take a pause. We probably need to get back to business ourselves to some degree, although we have been working. I've just been sitting around. Yeah, well, we hope you all, because obviously your feedback is what has been what's driven this and why it's encouraged us to carry on, which we've loved doing. And the YouTube channel, which we created, looks amazing. And I've left some of it's amazing to look at the very first few that we did when I watched them back. It's crazy. I had hardly any beard, shorter hair, and we had really shit tech. So it's been great how things have advanced from that a little bit. We want to keep it going if you want to. But you'll give us the feedback and we'll listen to it. We are here for you today. If you haven't got our mobile numbers, I'm probably going to share them in the group, to be honest. If you need us, just ring us. We are here today for anybody who just needs a bit more information. We'll be sharing this back to work checklist probably within the next hour or so that you can get that in the group. And basically, good luck. Please don't rush. consider health before anything else. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all.
We've loved every minute of doing.
Well, we haven't gone yet. We're going to be doing this tomorrow morning as well. We'll have a bit of an emotional one on Friday, no doubt. Sarah will. I don't care, but so that'll be fine. Just remember, please, as we go, the very first message: abide by social distancing above all else. You remember, without social distancing, one person within 2 weeks can affect 406 people with COVID. This is still a dangerous disease. It is still out there. It is still live. It's still affecting people. One person can affect 1.5, can affect 15 if you abide by the rules. Please, please, please be careful. Look after yourselves. We love you all. Take care. See you in the morning.
Bye.